so you could snort it up your nose. How about paying them per can of garbage? Would that make sense to you? No, it doesn't make sense? You mean you owe them the money? You owe them the money, huh? Sacramento, Roxanne, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Michael, I was born and raised in San Francisco, and that was my city, and I explored like you wouldn't believe as a child. And my father, who's 90 years old, did the same thing in San Francisco. And I would like it if call me old-fashioned, but I would think it would be a nice thing if they could clean the excrement off the streets in Union Square.
Oh, my God. You mean the bums are defecating in the streets?
Yeah, they are. And it's pretty bad.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. So you're one of the actual conservative voters who left the city because of the radical liberals who are running the town?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know there's at least 30% of the city that would like a business person, man or woman, of any race, to take over this city from this incompetent left-wing boob who cannot run anything, let alone a city. Now you go to the supervisors, they make him look like a genius. They're anti-military, they're anti-tourism, they're anti-hotel, they're anti-family, and they expect tourists to keep taking it? And that's what's happening here. They're blaming it on the national economy. That's absurd. Tyler, Texas. Tommy, you've been here. What did you see when you were in San Francisco?
Dr. Savage, I've got one bad thing and two good things about San Francisco. I visited my first and only time about 3.5 years ago. Bad thing is walking out of a restaurant with a doggy bag, take about 5 steps, and there's a 19-year-old kid begging me for my food. I told him to get a job, and I thought that he was going to fight me. And I was actually scared for a little bit.
Well, you should be, because I learned a long time ago that if you ever got into an altercation with one of the street vermin, even if they spit at you, you would be arrested for assault. They're looking for that. Don't go near them. Don't react. Let me tell you something about street smarts with vermin across America. If they look at you, look away. If they insult your wife, go the other way. Do not engage them. They are the equivalent of the person who is looking for you to tail-end your car, because there are legions of unemployed lawyers in the city looking to make a living strictly by having a tourist stand up for their dignity. And that's one of the reasons tourists are staying away, is because the bums are very hostile. The bums are out of control. The bums are dangerous. The bums are using the city like a toilet bowl, in my opinion. But there are many other reasons people are staying away, and I'd like to hear from you. If you have a tourist horror story so that we can inform the mayor and the supervisors what they might do to bring you back, you know the phone number here on the Savage Nation. And then on the other side of the coin, if you do come here, why do you come here? What do you love about this city? We know it has no art. There are individually fine symphonic musicians, but the symphony sounds like a junior high school orchestra warming up, owing to the fact that they had to put certain types of individuals into the symphonic capacity who would normally be teaching in, let us say, San Quentin music studio. But for reasons of affirmative action, they pulled the curtain back and they had to make the symphony look like America. The same goes for theater. There is no theater in San Francisco. It is all high school or sub-high school in par. And that is why there's no arts. Tell me what you come here for otherwise. I'd like to hear it. I know I stay here for a couple of reasons, and I told you what they are. The environment itself is overwhelming. That has not yet been destroyed by the liberals. Eventually, if they could, they probably would see if they could charge you for the fog by the amount that you inhale. But what do you come here for? I'd like to know. Why do you come here? It's anti-family. It's anti-children. It's anti-tourist. Why do you come here? I'd like to know. Modesto, Ozzy, you're on the Savage Nation.
Hi, thanks for taking my call, Dr. Savage. Listen, I have 3 sons. I'm a single father, and I haven't taken my sons back to San Francisco for the last 10 years because downtown is a sewer stinking smell city.
It smells? You actually smell like a sewer down there?
It is.
Yeah, well, there's no jokes. You mean the theater district, the garbage and the feces in the street?
Yes.
Well, maybe they ought to spend a little money on street sweepers. You know, there was a period in the 1970s when I first moved here when they had street sweepers with rolling carts and brooms, and they actually went around and cleaned the city. And then there was a scandal that they were making $38,000 a year even then. Where are the street sweepers? I never see a truck going by with water on it. I guess they're trying to save the water because it's so environmentally precious. Thank you for the call. I don't know where it is. I know we could have had the Iowa birth here in the city, but Dianne Feinstein voted to make sure it never birthed here. One of the great ships of the Iowa class battleships of World War II Many people begged to have it birthed in the city, but the anti-military fanatics of the city said, don't come here. This was once a great Navy town. The Navy is not welcome. This was once a great Army town. The Army is not welcome. So who is welcome here? Chicago, John, you're on the Savage Nation.
Mike, you stole my thunder. Great to be on your show. But you're absolutely right. I was born and raised in Chicago, joined the Navy, got stationed on Treasure Island back in 1987. And you know, ever since, that's just gone downhill. From Silicon Valley to them kicking them all out. Look at Hunters Point. They went through all that rejuvenation up there, and what happened? Squat, because they told them all to get out. And then during the Base Realignment Act, they took everybody out of there. And then
well, the reason they made the military clean up the old naval base at Hunters Point was so that Nancy Pelosi and her friends could swoop in like vultures and build their own properties on it after the government invested billions of dollars in cleaning it up. Don't you see a scam when you confront it? What do you think this was all about? What do you think they're going to do? Put the military back when they can make billions of dollars? Her and Feinstein? Thanks for the call. That's one man's opinion. One man's opinion. Take a look at the Presidio, one of the great military bases in America. Take a look at what Feinstein and Boxer have done to it through nepotism. Take a look at the fact that George Lucas was given a valuable piece of land to build a film studio for nothing down. Ask yourself how these things happen. San Francisco, Lewis, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Yeah, hi. You know, ever since September 11th, 2001, there has not been equestrian horse-boarding or equestrian activities in Golden Gate Park. The first time in 165 years that we've not had our used to horseback activities in the city, and it's all due to these liberal thugs that have invaded our city positions. It's just absolutely nuts. They've done nothing to save Golden Gate Park as a historical horseback riding park. They've done nothing.
Well, the Golden Gate Park is safe for the junkies. That's the important thing, and for other individuals who use the bushes for various and sundry. It's very important that you understand what the city prides itself on. Certainly it isn't horseback riding. It is making certain that the bushes are useful for people who stick themselves in the arm, the intravenous drug users, not junkies. You're not allowed to say the word junkie in San Francisco. They're called intravenous drug users. You understand that?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and the kids go into playgrounds and there are needles sticking out of the ground. There were cases of them sliding down sliding ponds and kids getting stuck with hypodermic needles. Utah, Robert, you're on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Dr. Savage. I lived in San Francisco in the 60s and 70s, and I love the city. But now, with Newsom Company running the city, I'm worried about it. After a father and two sons were brutally murdered there, my daughter wants to go to Berkeley University next year, and I'm not happy about it. I'm nervous about it.
There's a very high crime rate at the University of California at Berkeley and Berkeley itself. It has also been taken over by radical liberals who care nothing about the traditions of the university, care only about stuffing their pockets and their cronies. I would send us somewhere else. And remember, I am a graduate of the University of California at Berkeley with a doctorate, a real PhD, not an honorary one, in a real scientific field. And so it's not easy for me to say this. I would be very concerned about sending my daughter to the University of California at Berkeley. I truly would. But there are other things we can talk about with regard to San Francisco. Any tourist horror stories, 1-800-449, or any reasons you have come here or continue to come here. I'm open for business on the Savage Nation. Sacramento, John, go ahead, please.
The only thing I would take my family there for, Michael, would be to the ball game, which I would get on a ferry at Jack London Square and over to there, so I wouldn't have to interact with any of the vermin and run around that city. Or
the stadium is gorgeous. I was down there last year. I'm not a big ball fan, but I went, and I really did enjoy it. It's something to behold. It's gorgeous on the bay.
Ferry. It's beautiful right over. You don't have to, like I say, go inside the city. It drops you off right there at the park. And the zoo. That would be it.
That's right. I love the zoo as well. I still do. Fortunately, there are fences to keep out the mayor and the supervisors, so the zoo is a very safe place because there are only wild animals inside, as opposed to politicians. And therefore, you're safe from the bums who are, of course, released on the city by the politicians to frighten the middle class. That's how I see it. You don't like it? Too bad. Jay in San Francisco, KNEW, go ahead, please.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Savage. Yeah, I grew up in San Francisco, Dr. Savage, and I'll say I think that there are tons of things to do in this city. I mean, you have Golden Gate Park, the D. Young Museum. They just opened up the Exploratorium. Your last caller mentioned the ballpark here. There's the wharf area. There's some beautiful neighborhoods, Pacific Height. There's some great institutions here, USF, St. Ignatius Church. I mean,
you're mentioning some very, very interesting places. But what does USF have to do with tourists?
Well, what I'm saying, Dr. Savage, is if you come to the city, there are tons of tourist attractions here. Granted, some of the areas in the Market Street and downtown area, you have some issues there. But what urban environment don't you have that, Dr. Savage?
Well, that's why I opened up both sides, and I'm glad you were able to call and give us the positive, but still not a big magnet for children, is it, Jay?
Well, I disagree because, once again, I mentioned Golden. You have a bunch of activities that the locals know about. There are many locals.
All right, let me ask you, do you happen to have children yourself?
No, I'm about to be married, and I will be having children in the next year.